Hi friends, it's Becky and I wanted to share a design with you today using the Potomac Beads Lavender Latte treasure box. We did an unboxing of this earlier this month and I wanted to make a design using one of these check glass leaf pendants. It has a top drilled hole right here in the top, and I thought that that would be a fantastic way to copy my sister and use her beaded bail method that she's shared before on our channel. And so I'm going to be doing her beaded bail. I'm going to go ahead and use some of this Potomac Beads beading cable. It is a 0.018 inch beading wire, and it is this right kind of thickness to be able to use my 2x2 crimp tubes on. And my favorite crimper, the magical crimper, which we'll get to later. I've gone ahead and pulled out some items from my stash to use as closures. It's just some jump rings and a lobster clasp. And then I've got my flush cutter for cutting my wire. And we might do some earrings afterwards using some of these beads. I went ahead and set them aside so we don't have to use them in our design. But what I plan on doing is using some of these rice beads, these 8/0 seed beads, and these Potomac pearls in addition to this for our design. And for my center bead on this beaded bail that we're doing, I'm going to be using a 2-hole bead. So I went ahead and made sure that this wire will fit through one of the holes twice, and then we'll just have one pass of wire through this second hole. Usually when my sister does this beaded bail sort of thing, she makes sure that the bead that you go through, you can go through 3 times with your wire. So twice for one side, once for the other side. And I went ahead and left the wire in here so that I'd know which hole had the bigger, or which one of the holes could fit both of those twice. I did have to test several of these round duos to find one that fit through twice. Some of them were a little bit tighter, which is totally normal for a bead that has this type of metallic coating on it. Some of the other beads that came, but this was a free gift, by the way, these round duos, this crystal one, it fit too with no problems. So it doesn't have that same metallic coating on the crystal side. So we've got those. I did also test the super duos to see if I could get that to work, and the hole was too small for us to do that. So not all 2-hole beads will this work through. It is a good idea to test first and figure out which ones will fit 2 passes of wire through it before you start doing a project like this. But now that I've got that all figured out, I'm going to cut off some wire, and it's going to be enough wire to make a necklace that sits there. And then I'm going to add about that much for crimping and about that much for the bail. So a couple inches for the crimp, a couple inches for the bail, and this will end up being about 20 inches of wire total. And my wire completely unspooled, so I will untangle that later. Get that spooled up again. Just move that out of the way. So to start off with, we're going to have the middle of this wire, and I'm going to just put this bead on right there in the center of it. And I'm leaving these other 2 strands so that I know which hole to go through for this, like that. And now that that's on here, I'm going to remove these 2 test wires out of the way so that I can start getting this on here. Now with these 8/0 seed beads, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let's get 5 8/0 seed beads on each strand. 3, 4, 5. And I was just seeing how much space there would be between this bead in the center and my bail. Alright, so now that I've got that in the center, let me make sure that my wire is actually centered. There we go. I'm going to take both of my wires together and pass them through the front of this leaf bead. It's another thing that you want to make sure of, is that you can get 2 passes of whatever wire you're stringing on here through there. And then now that that's in there, I'm going to pick up another 1, 2, 3. I'm going to do 4 on this one, and that will give me, it'll lean back that way, away from the front of the thing, if I've got fewer wires on the back end than I have on the front, or fewer beads on the back than I do on the front. It'll change the way that it leans. 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, and now I'm going to go through this second hole in one direction with 1 strand, and then we're going to go through that hole again with the second strand going in the opposite direction. Like so. And I'm just going to pull that tight. And now I have a beaded bail using some seed beads and a 2-hole bead for my leaf. Can you believe it? And now let's get these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7. Oop. I'm going to make sure that I've got an even amount of these beads on each side. 6, 7, 8. Just in case I need more. And then we're going to be popping these guys in between them. Let's see, green, and then yellow, and then red, and then blue. Should I do purple first? Purple and then blue. And green, and then yellow, and then red. Okay. So I'm going to be separating these with a single 8/0 as I string. Probably going to be ending up using a lot of these 8/0s just for this design, which is perfectly fine. But the rest of this is just going to be stringing these along in a pretty simple pattern, like that. But yeah, it's about time I tried out Jenny's favorite bail. She does that a lot on my channel, and so I am copying her. but making a little bit different by including or using a 2-hole bead. So it's just a little bit different, but not a lot of it different, just a little bit. But maybe seeing me using 2 different holes for it might help make the construction of it make a little bit of sense as we go through that. Now, I may, don't forget the pearls. More pearls. I generally prefer a shorter necklace, so that's why I cut it to this length. And it does use up a bit of real estate here. This does. That's why I added a little bit extra. All right, I'm going to just check on my length real quick by holding this side up. All right, and I'm going to need about 2 more repeats for length on this. So let's go here. All right. Gonna check on my length again. Oh, that I think is gonna be pretty perfect. So let's grab a bead stopper. And I'm going to string the other end. And once I've made sure that they're pretty even, then I will start crimping my beads, or my my wire strand so that my beads don't come off. But we're going to wait until we are done with our stringing before we do that. Now, if you missed my unboxing, I will put a link to that in the description below, because Potomac Beads is a monthly bead subscription. And I did an unboxing and organizing video when I got it. There's a couple of other things that I wanted to make with it as well, especially with the more purple beads. I'm feeling the fall vibes, so I very much wanted to do this with the copper and the cream pearls, these soft pearls, and especially the glass leaf. It's making me feel some really deep fall vibes. So I wanted to do this one first, and then we can go dive into the more colorful purpley beads that also came in this. So it is the Lavender Latte, so there are some really pretty lavender shades in there. next, I'm a little bit paranoid that I'm missing a seed bead at some point in here. So let me just double check that I remembered. Seed beads on either side of these, because that's the type of thing that I would forget when I'm doing my stringing, is to pop those little seed beads into place in between them. They're basically acting like what are they called? You know, the things. Spacers. And now my colors are a little bit different up here just because I don't have enough two or perfectly matched ones. But that's okay because this part back here is going to be behind the neck, so it's not going to be super visible. But the rest of it is pretty well matched, I think, for all of that. So let's get some crimping done. I'm just going to make a loop with my wire using these crimps. And these are 2x2 crimp tubes. Put my crimp on the wire, feed it back through. Tighten that up. I like to make sure there's a little bit of space between the crimp and the bead next to it. Now that I've got my little loop there. If you haven't seen me using these before, they have a single concavity in the middle there. So I'm going to center my crimp in there, give it a healthy smush, and it pinches down just the corners of that 2x2 crimp tube. And then when I turn it at a 90-degree angle, and then a 30-degree angle, and then a 25-degree angle, and then a 120-degree angle. Just going around and just hitting it from all of the angles, it rounds it out into this nice smooth little ball of crimp. And you can cut off your excess wire. And that end is crimped. And I can do the same on this other side. This crimp tube. About the same size. I was just comparing the size of my loop to the other side. Again, make sure you can get that centered before you do your first crimp. And make sure you just keep going around until you stop meeting resistance. Once there's zero resistance on the squeeze, then you know you are finished. There we go. Alright, so now that I've got these loops on the ends of my wire, I can use my jump rings and my lobster clasp to open this up. So let's grab a tool for that. Got some chain nose pliers here. I'm going to go ahead and use my my crimping tool because it has a flat end right here on the end of it, so it can hold my jump ring while I twist it open, like that. Once it's twisted, I can add my clasp, close this up, and then I can add this other jump ring. This is a 6mm jump ring, and I'm using a 5mm jump ring to attach it to my necklace. Go. Now that is done. Those copper crimps just blend right in with these copper color 8/0s that we have there. All right, now what should we do for an earring design? I think might do a little bit of a loop. Or I could add a couple more of these to make a little soft hoop. Yep, I think that's gonna work out. Let's grab a couple more of these for the second one. I'll do the first earring with y'all, and then finish up the second one on my own. And let me see, do I want to do a hoop with the beading wire? No, let's use some other wire for that. I've got some 20 gauge wire. Let's make sure that the beads will fit on the 20 gauge wire, and they do. And I'm just going to cut off about 6 inches of wire. This is non-tarnished copper wire, so it's the bright copper that will not patina over time. And now for tools for this, let's grab my round nose pliers. I've already got my chain nose plier and my flush cutters. And I think I'm going to start with a loop for the top of this. So round nose pliers about halfway down my thing. I made a little loop, and now that it's met here at the center, I'm going to bend a little back so that I have a centered loop. Give it a little bit of a flush cut. And then right here, below the loop, I'm going to bend this off to the side and start stringing on these guys. I'm going to get them all strung on, and then I'm going to bend this around. I'm just going 8/0, pearl, 8/0, rice bead, 8/0, pearl, 8/0, rice bead, 8/0, pearl, 8/0. Go like that, and then bend this other end around. until it meets my loop. See how it's not really round or even oval? I'm going to adjust that shape because I can, just with my fingers, round that out a little bit better, like that. And then I've got my little loop here, and there's that space that I made between that first bend and this one. So that means that I can wrap my wire around the neck of that loop, like that. There you go. Put that in the back. Give that a little snip. And I can just attach an ear wire at the end of this. And have a little hoop drop earring that will match and go with this necklace. So I'm going to finish up that second earring on my own, post a photo with all of these in the Potomac Beads Facebook group. And again, I will have a link to Potomac Beads in the description below. I'll also include, you can find out more about the bead subscription by following that link. Until next time, my friends, happy beading.